You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
So man has an affair with an Italian woman while he's visiting Europe on business. Now, he doesn't want to leave his wife. He still loves her. And the woman doesn't want to get married, but she wants him to support the child because she gets pregnant. Well, he agrees, and they come up with this plan where she'll stay in Italy and raise the baby, and he will send money. But since he doesn't want his wife to know, he tells the woman that when the baby arrives, send him a postcard with the word spaghetti on it, and he'll start sending money to the return address. Now, months go by, and he returns home from work one evening, and his wife tells him he got this really odd postcard in the mail. Now he picks it up and reads it and immediately passes out. A few hours later, he wakes up in the hospital on a bunch of machines and tubes, and his very worried wife is beside him. Now everything's a little fuzzy. He's not sure exactly what happened. So he asks her, what happened? And she explains that he had read the postcard and had a heart attack. Now, he asks her if she still has the postcard. And she pulls it out. She goes, I don't know if I should give this to you. He goes, it's okay. I'm in the hospital. I'm laying down. I'm on these machines. It's going to be okay. Let me just see the postcard. So she hands him the postcard. And it says, spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti. 2 with meatballs, 1 without. Send extra sauce. A few moments later, the nurses race into the room with a crash cart. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. I want to say hey to everybody who's already here. Kenneth, Triple B, Ed, and Cool. I'm glad you guys are all here. For anybody lurking, please jump into the conversation. I know we are live on Instagram for the first time, so that is awesome. We are going to be doing a kind of a deep dive into the 2022 Batman film, or The Batman, from Matt Reeves, and we're going to focus on it as a film noir. And I had a lot of fun with that and watching it and taking a look at it from that point of view. And I've got a bunch of notes and stuff to talk about, so we're going to get into that. Ed asks, any word on Vox Machina? Should it be out soon, or is it a victim of the strike? It is likely delayed because of the strike. But I assume it's back on track. But they're also going to be doing the Mighty Nine. So that might, I'm not sure if they're going to get the 3rd season of Vox Machina out first, or the next will be the Mighty Nine. There hasn't been any word either way on it, but I will look into it and see if I can find out for you, Ed. All right, we do have some news we're going to cover, and then we will jump into the Batman discussion. But please hit that like and subscribe buttons, and also stick around. We got a great lineup today. After this is What's in the Box with Miss Jen. I know she's got some Red Sonja comics from back when Marvel, I believe it's the film adaptation, but she's got a lot of good books to go over tonight. Then the Geek Chat, normally or previously known as the Comic Book Beardies, will be reviewing some books, including the new Ghost in the Machine book. And Sketch Up tonight have guests Stephen Prince and Dan Price. That's it. So that's our lineup for today. Stick around for all of that. Let's get into the news. Now, this one did my heart good to see. Jon Stewart is going to be coming back to The Daily Show. Now, he started on The Daily Show 25 years ago, and now he's going to return, but he's not taking over the whole thing. Well, mostly not. He's going to be producing the show, and he's going to be the Monday night host through the 2024 election cycle. So for basically this year, we're going to get Jon Stewart as the Monday night host. Now, this is 8 years after he left. And of course, he missed almost all of the Trump presidency and everything afterwards. So now he's had that Apple Plus show, but he had an amazing audience with the Comedy Central and The Daily Show. And there was a point where he was considered the most trusted newsman in the country to younger viewers. So that's huge. Now, he's going to do Monday, and then various correspondents are going to do the rest of the night, including Desi Lydek, Michael Costa, Ronnie Chang, as well as Jordan Klepper. Now, he still is to my generation, exactly. By the way, Kyle's on the board today. So now Stewart will return on February 12th. And like I said, he'll also be producing the show. And so he's going to kind of shape the new chapter of the franchise. Now, you guys remember that they actually tried to find a new host and had a bunch of guest hosts, but none of them quite clicked. But the Daily Show has been this great ground for creating these talented people. I mean, Stephen Colbert came out of The Daily Show, John Oliver, Samantha Bee, Steve Carell. So there's a lot of great stuff coming out of The Daily Show. So it's good to see Jon Stewart back. And I look forward to seeing what the show is going to be like starting on February 12th. All right, moving over to Prime Video. Reacher. Reacher has been a smash hit on Prime Video, Amazon Prime, with 2 seasons in the books now. And the big question has been, what is going to be the third book? And there's been a ton of speculation. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that Maria Sten has been in the first 2 seasons as Frances Neely. Now, Neely wasn't in the first book they adapted, which was The Killing Floor, but she was part of Bad Luck and Trouble, the 11th book in the franchise that was adapted for season 2. Now, they seem to want to keep her around. So people were kind of thinking, okay, it could be a handful of books that the character does appear. She is one of the few recurring characters in the Jack Reacher universe. Well, it turns out they're not doing another book where she appears, but they are going to write her into the book, which, okay. But they are going to be adapting one of the most popular books in the series, the 7th book, Persuader. And this is a book that takes place in Maine and has Reacher going undercover to try to rescue an informant being held by a foe from his past. So now I haven't had a chance to read the book. I've already downloaded the audiobook, and I'm going to probably try to start it as soon as I finish the current book I'm on. I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, so this is now Alan Richardson's been teasing this. He's been doing videos with lobsters to give you the idea that it was going to take place in Maine. Now the show films in Toronto, and that's a place that can double for a lot of cities. But having it in Maine means it's probably going to be another winter one because we're in the winter right now. The original renewal was announced in December, just as the show was starting. Season 2 was about to premiere. So I think we should have another Reacher series by the end of the year or early into 2025. So Reacher Season 2 was the #1 title on Prime Video worldwide across both series and movies in 2023 during its premiere weekend. It says, I heard a lot of good things about Reacher. How many episodes per season? Wondering if I can get caught up. There's 8 episodes per season. They're pretty self-contained. The books are definitely self-contained. That's kind of the way author Lee Child does them, is there's very rarely anything that, if you pick up a Jack Reacher book and read it, you should be able to read it without any issues. The stories are really self-contained. But the series itself is a little bit more linked in tiny ways. So you definitely want to watch season 1 before season 2. They're both very good, and I highly recommend them. So it's one of my favorite shows from last season. Kyle asked, Dan, do you set a reading goal for yourself during the year? I don't, because I don't know how much time I'm going to have. And I've actually gotten to the point where I don't physically read books anymore. I listen to them, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to do it. Sitting down and reading a book right now is finding the time that I'm not doing like 7 other things at the same time is impossible for me. So now when I'm crocheting or model painting or driving, I have Audible. I have an Audible account. I have a ton of books on Audible. I listen to the Jack Reacher stuff. I listen to, I'm a huge fan of the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. They're read by James Marsters, and he is one of the best narrators I've ever come across. I'm also reading a new series by James J. Butcher, the son of Jim Butcher, the guy that writes Dresden Files. I'm on the second book, Long Past Due, and it's another urban fantasy series. I really recommend them. I also recommend author Drew Hayes. I just read an old Marvel book, The Avengers, The Man Who Stole Tomorrow, written by David Michelinie, which is The Avengers versus Kang. That was a lot of fun. I've been reading some Warhammer books. I'm currently got the Horus Heresy to read. Benedict Jacka's book series I read. Brendan Denon's Morbius the Living Vampire I finished. Also another very good book. I've got Heir to the Empire I need to read, but I've been reading Star Wars books on here. There's a lot of really good stuff. So, again, if you don't have time to sit down and read, because it's hard to just, focus on a book, try audiobooks. I'm debating setting one for myself where I re-listen to all of the Reacher books. I have enjoyed the Reacher books I've listened to so far. I've listened to both The Killing Floor and Bad Luck and Trouble, and I'm halfway through Die Trying, which is the second book. I was going to try to read them in order, but now I'm kind of reading them based on the how they're being adapted. So I think that's a good idea. The narrators on them are really good, and they're good reads. Oh, also another recommended read, if you're a fan of Agatha Christie and why is his name slipping my mind? The director and the guy that just played Hercule Poirot, Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh has read Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile as audiobooks, and they're fantastic. So he hasn't done a Halloween story, which is what they made A Haunting in Venice out of, but that could be because it's a pretty drastic change from the book to the series. All right, kind of went off on a tangent there. Let's go to more news. Wilson Bethel. You guys remember Wilson Bethel? He joined Netflix's Daredevil series in the third season as Benjamin Poindexter, basically Bullseye. Now, latest news is, and this is not just coming from some random scooper, this is coming from Deadline, is that Bethel is returning for Daredevil Born Again. So this is sources confirming to Deadline. He is set to appear in 3 episodes of the series. I'm hoping he gets his costume, because pretty much the only costume he wears in the Netflix series is Daredevil's costume. Now, that's currently filming. Marvel, of course, has declined to comment, but, the show is back up and running now following the writer's strike and the actor's strike. But when the strike happened, Marvel kind of went through what they had already gotten done on the series and made some drastic changes. Dario Scartapane from The Punisher replaced Matt Corman and Chris Ord as the showrunners. A bunch of new directors were brought in. They're trying to keep as much as they can from the original stuff, but they're making some big changes. Vincent D'Onofrio, Charlie Cox, and John Bernthal are all returning as Matt Murdock, Wilson Fisk, and Frank Castle. The new creative direction appears also to involve bringing back other familiar faces. Besides Bethel, there's reports out there that Deborah Ann Wool and Eldon Henson will be coming back as Karen Page and Foggy Nelson. Neither of them were going to come back, and they were going to be killed off panel or off screen, and that is now changing. Other people cast in the series: Margarita Levieva, Artie Fraujen, Sandrine Holt, Michael Gandolfini, and Nikki M. James. Now, let's see. Ed says, I never listened to an audiobook. Where to listen to them from? I'm wondering if that could help me relax and ease my insomnia. Just curious. Kyle recommends going to your local library. There are also apps where you can borrow audiobooks with your library card. That is true. There's a couple places out there that will sell audiobooks. There's a subscription service out there, Audible, which is connected to Amazon, which is what I use. You pay a monthly fee, you get credits, and then you buy the books with credits, and they're basically just your subscription price. I have a huge library of audiobooks. I have way more than I'm going to get around to. So, JD the artist says, yes, great news. DD probably has overall the best casting. Yep. JD Smith, the library cards aren't that hard to get. You should be able to get one, no problem. But again, you can go through Audible. There's a couple. Barnes & Noble has Nook. No, I don't know if they have audiobooks. Have to think about that one. By the way, through Audible, some of my books, like Vampirella the Blood Demon, is available through audio as well. All right, let's go on to another story. After resuming production post-actor strike in November, Marvel Studios' Deadpool 3 has wrapped per leading man Ryan Reynolds. He posted an image of Deadpool's crotch and then read, the suit hides blood, also sweat, but today with Deadpool wrapping, it's mostly tears. A giant forever thanks to the cast and crew of our film, who battled wind, rain, strikes, and the Hugh Jackman, all under the stalwart leadership of Sean Levy. Now, he wrote this adding, I got to make a movie with my closest pals, and that doesn't happen very often. See you all July 26th. Now, that is, of course, the release date for Deadpool 3. Now, this was one of the handful of features productions to resume immediately after the strikes, along with Beetlejuice 2, Gladiator 2, Venom 3, and Juror number 2. I guess you needed a number in your title to really get back to work quickly. Deadpool was already about 50% in the can before the actors' strike. The threequel is expected to cost about $1.5 billion. I'm sorry, the films have made $1.5 billion so far, and this was going to come out in 2024, but of course it got posted to May and then to July. So let's see. Hoopla has tons of audiobooks for good. I really hope DP3 offers more than just hee hee ha ha nostalgia. From what I understand, it's really setting up the way the X-Men are coming back into the Marvel Universe and is part of the multiverse saga. So where it's going to have the humor and stuff you expect from a Deadpool movie, you've also got Wolverine in there, but you've got some serious stuff too. Venom 3 survived the strike. That's wildly disappointing. That's an interesting one because the writer from the first two is now directing the third one, and it's being co-written by Tom Hardy. So Deadpool 3 is in the can, starting on post-production. And finally, I don't know why this is a thing, but in the wake of the 13 Oscar nominations for Oppenheimer, Sony has decided that it's going to re-release Tenet to the cinema since it didn't do that well during the pandemic. They think people need a second chance to see it. And with it will be a bunch of footage from the upcoming Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2, all starting on March 1st. This will be in 70 millimeter IMAX screens, IMAX digital, and 70 millimeter for 1 week. For 1 week only on February 23rd. Dune's in theaters. Dune 2's in theaters on March 1st. So you can see some early footage on February 23rd for 1 week. The reissue of Tenet will include extra footage from Dune Part 2, which was actually shot in IMAX. Tickets go on sale for Tenet today. Tickets for Dune Part 2 go on sale tomorrow. With the end spot of the last Spider-Man movie, do you think Spider-Man will be in Venom? I don't think so. I think they're going to do something different with that. They just haven't had a chance to yet. So, all right, guys, let's take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about The Batman, the first true film noir superhero movie. Be right back.
Symphonic verses, Nocturne's romance. A song of romanticized darkness, dreaming dead by sleep.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
By this time in our journey, we had been on the trail of a very elusive creature for about 96 hours. But all the hard work is about to pay off. Oh, crikey, there she is. Oh, by the markings, I'd say this one's at least a 9.8. Oh, she's a real beauty. A true mint copy. Oh, this one will make a fine slab on anyone's display wall. Oh, she's a feisty one, though. Look out, look out!
Mint Hunter Comics is the place to find that mint comic you've been searching for. Mint Hunter Comics, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, part of the experience.
everybody. Welcome back. I want to approach Ed's question there because there is a theory. Ed says the only people that came through were people that knew Peter Parker, right? So how did Venom get through if they're not going to have him meet Peter Parker, or am I forgetting something? Okay, we're looking at a multiverse here to start with. The multiverse, but the thing is that the Venom symbiote, the symbiotes are omnipotent together. They share all their knowledge. So if one symbiote knows something, all the symbiotes know it. So in Tobey Maguire's world, he bonded with Venom. Therefore, that symbiote would know that he is Peter Parker. So the theory is that because of that, all the symbiotes across all the multiverses know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So that's why that one came through. It's not because of Tom Hardy's character. It's not because, why can't I think of, Eddie Brock. It's because of Venom. So that's the theory. Is it true? Who the hell knows? Yeah, they didn't do a really good job explaining things in Venom. All right, let's get into the Batman. Now, first thing I want to address is that this, of course, is a detective series. J.D. Smith says, don't you dare make up for the lack of homework the screenwriters did, Wickline. Don't you dare. Fair enough. Okay, I have seen a lot of people who have negative comments about The Batman, the Matt Reeves film, saying that he's not the world's greatest detective. He just bumbles around. He doesn't really know what he's doing. And that's fair enough. The title, The World's Greatest Detective, is a horrible title and gets used by so many people. Hercule Poirot uses it. Sherlock Holmes uses it. The new series I'm watching on Hulu, Death and Other Details, Mandy Patinkin's character of Rufus uses it. Anytime you have a good detective, they get titled The World's Greatest Detective. Now, first thing you got to wonder is how many detectives are in this universe. But this is Batman year 2, basically. He's not going to be the world's greatest detective. And the fact is, it's a detective story. This is not a Sherlock Holmes story. This is not a Nero Wolfe or a Hercule Poirot or even a Miss Marple. This is a Sam Spade type detective story. This is a noir detective, a film noir. This is the detective as a force of nature who gets by on persistence, violence, and being too stupid to know when to quit. That is your Sam Spade. That is your Raymond Chandler type detective, your Shel Scott characters, your Spencer for Hire. All of those characters are, like I said, it's not that they are the brightest people. It's that they don't give up. They're willing to take the punches, to be hated, all for the truth. They are a force of nature. So keep that in mind. So when somebody comes and says, oh, he's not really a good detective in this, he's a Sam Spade detective, totally different than a Sherlock Holmes, which is what everybody thinks of when they think of a great detective, or an Adrian Monk, JD says, hey, I had a heavy hand in the marketing material for Death and the Other Details. Hopes it's good. JD, I am really enjoying Death and Other Details. It is very good. The only thing I can't figure out is that so far in 3 episodes, there's 2 random nude scenes that I don't really think were necessary. They were just like kind of, oh, we should show some boobs. Other than that, I think the movie is great. I think Raul Coley in there is awesome. Mandy Patinkin is awesome. Violet Bean, you'll remember her from as Jessie Quick on The Flash. Great stuff. It's really good. Yeah, those are the other details. Cute. So, all right, so let's get into this. But we're going to look at the Batman. And the first thing we got to answer is, what is film noir? Now, film noir, the basic overview of a film noir, and what it means is, most people think it means a black film. And, it actually means a dark film. It's a style of filmmaking characterized by such elements as the cynical hero, stark lighting effects, frequent uses of flashbacks, intricate plots, and an underlying existentialist philosophy. Now, the genre was prevalent mostly in American crime dramas in post-World War II era. And while a lot of the examples out there are black and white, color films do fit in this category if they're shot with the stark contrast and muted colors, like The Batman is. Now, the other night, I rewatched the 2022 film The Batman from director Matt Reeves, as I like to do every 3 or 6 months, because I really enjoy the film. Now, the film just kind of really hit a sweet spot with me, and like a few other films have. But as I watched it, I realized that this movie really was a film noir, and it might be the first true film noir superhero project we've ever gotten. And the first thing that made me think of this is the opening of the film. Now, in most superhero films, you establish the protagonist right off the bat. No pun intended. Looking at the previous Batman films, they all started by focusing on the heroes. The 1989... See, now, Sin City is a noir comic book movie, but it's not a superhero movie. Now, the 1989 Tim Burton film started with a random family being robbed in an alley, similar to Bruce Wayne's own origin story. It was the way Tim Burton got around telling the origin up front. Now, then the Batman, played by Michael Keaton, confronts the thieves on top of a roof. Why they got up there, I don't know. To scare them and to send a message. But the thing is, he scares them and he leaves. He doesn't actually collect the stolen items. We never see him go and look in on the family or anything like that. And he doesn't arrest the bad guys. He kicks one through a door. He threatens the other one by hanging him over a cliff, tells him that he's Batman and tell your friends. And he leaves them with what they stole. Sorry, that's just my knock on Tim Burton. I'm not a big fan of the 89 Batman movie. I just have to admit that. Now, let's move on to the Christopher Nolan 2005 Batman Begins. This film opens with a young Bruce playing with a young Rachel before falling into a well where he is surrounded by bats. Now, this would shape the life of an adult Bruce Wayne played by Christian Bale, and also tells him where to put the Batcave, or gives him the idea for the Batcave. In 2016, Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, Zack Snyder gives us a similar well scene, but for some reason it turns out it's just a dream sequence and Batman's floating. And then we switch into seeing an adult Bruce Wayne played by Ben Affleck racing through Metropolis while Superman and Zod are fighting and destroying everything. And all I could think of through the whole scene was, what's he going to do? If Ben Affleck, if Bruce Wayne can get to Wayne Tech, what's he going to do? He can't evacuate the building any faster being there than when he told the guy to evacuate the building. He's just putting himself in harm's way. I'm not sure what he planned to do. Okay, I'm not here to pick on the other movies, but The openings were a little strange on Snyder's and Burton's. But anyway, what we get is this establishment of them as heroes or sympathetic characters. JD says, Bruce falling in the well, trying to impress Rachel. This is why you've got to be careful with women. You might end up as a crazy cosplayer for the rest of your life. That is true. I know a couple people. Just saying that's true. All right. So how does Matt Reeves start his film? We do something completely different here. We focus on the villain, the Riddler played by Paul Dano. Now, this version of the Riddler has been modified quite a bit to include kind of well-known elements of the Zodiac Killer. And he does kind of step away from the traditional Riddler, but I think it's close enough overall. But we focus on his first kill, his method, and his brutality. There's a level of brutality in this film that doesn't exist in the others. Not because the other Batmans don't do brutal things, but because this one is much more grounded in reality, that the brutality isn't homogenized by the fantastical elements of the film. In Batman Returns, when he's fighting the circus people, Batman places a bomb in one thug's pants and then tosses him into a sewer where he blows up. He obviously kills the guy, but it's just done off panel and it's so lighthearted that you don't really watch that. You don't notice it at first look. In Batman v Superman, Batman is obviously vicious to those holding Martha Kent, but none of that has that same brutality that this film has. Riddler kills the mayor violently, setting the stage for the movie's driving mystery. That's how we start the movie. Nowhere near the protagonist and protagonist, we see a murder. And that's how most film noirs start. From there, we do meet our Batman, but he's not even called Batman here. He just calls himself Vengeance. And we see him called Vengeance through most of the movie. And at this point, he's played by Robert Pattinson, and he narrates the opening, which we later learn is actually a page from his journal, which makes sense. Ed says, that's exactly what I loved about the Batman. It's believable, real-world story. No flying people, no silliness. Batman is a detective vigilante who actually does detective work. Love it. Yeah, that's my feelings too, Ed. Now, so he's writing this page in his journal, but he's going after a gang who's trying to harass a citizen just trying to get home. When this Batman punches, you get the feeling that he's tapping into this huge pool of anger he always carries with him. The punches and the kicks are meant to inflict maximum damage. They're not superpowered, but they are ruthless. This is no hero. This is a vigilante that scares the good guys as well as the bad guys. The criminals of the cities are actually afraid to go into the shadows, not because they fear getting arrested, but they fear getting killed. Okay? This is a city in fear of a urban legend vigilante. So, now what Reeves does is he skips all of the origin story for this Bruce Wayne. We don't feel sorry for him after watching his parents get murdered. We don't see him struggling to become Batman. We don't see him going through training. We get a man in his second year as a violent vigilante taking his own personal anguish out on every criminal we can find. This is a film noir protagonist. Now let's break down 10 of the elements you usually find in a noir story, whether in film or in novels. And it starts with your protagonist being an outsider. Oftentimes, this is a soldier returning home, or a detective that everyone hates, or even a prisoner just out of jail. But here, Bruce has been estranged from Gotham City for quite some time. He's jokingly called the Prince of the City because of the status his parents had. But he has been a recluse, rarely going out in public other than as part of his Batman mission. He's been ignoring Wayne Enterprises to the point where the business is in trouble. He's obsessed with his mission. And other than Alfred and the other servants in the tower, he is isolated from the world. Again, perfect noir protagonist. Now, you'll notice that I haven't been calling the Batman a hero. And that's the second thing on our list. The noir protagonist is never a hero. He is driven by revenge, greed, lust, or all of the above. And they're willing to cross a moral line to reach their goal. This Bruce is driven by revenge for what happened to his parents. But he doesn't know who the killer is. And he believes it could have just been a random person on the streets that was willing to rob and to kill because they needed money. Without having a direction to point this rage, Bruce is openly attacking everyone who crosses the line, and he shows no mercy regardless of the level of the crime. And says you already read that one. So this is who our Batman is. He's not a hero. He's not trying to make the city better. He's not being a philanthropist and giving out money. He is focused on taking out the bad guys. And he may call it saving the city, but what he's trying to do is get revenge for his parents. Okay, another aspect of noir is fatalism or nihilism. The story exists in a world forsaken by hope, a city where the corrupt and greedy have all the power, and the basic good citizens are living in fear of just about everything. You don't thrive in Gotham City, you survive. The philanthropic fund created by Thomas Wayne is being manipulated by crooks and cops alike. Orphanages are burning down with no replacement. The streets are filled with drugs and crimes, and the average person has to worry about just making it home alive. This is not a city you move to. This is not a city you want to raise a family in. This is a city you move out of as quickly as possible. And that's what Gotham City is always supposed to be. Metropolis is the bright, shining city on the hill. Gotham is hell. Gotham is the worst of people. And that is what Matt Reeves establishes. All right, we're going to take our second break and we'll continue on our list. We got 7 more to go through and some key collectibles. So we'll be right back in just a minute.
Live from New York. What? Oh, sorry. Live from Cleveland? It's Friday night? It's Friday Night Live! With Nancy McCann. And Ricky. And sometimes Carlos. And featuring boxes and boxes of rare comics. Unique collectibles. Lots of smiles and conversations with new friends. Friday Night Live with Comics Unlimited. Friday night from 9 to 11 on The Experience. To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds, a promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Remember to stick around for What's in the Box and the Geek Chat, formerly known as the Comic Book Beardies, and of course, Sketch Up, all tonight. And tomorrow, remember to join Friday Night Live. There is no original art show tomorrow, but there will be Friday Night Live. And this weekend, we've got the Comic Book Expo 3, or the Comic Book Expo, the Experience Expo 3, where we've got a bunch of great guests lining up for the whole weekend. I will actually be on, not as a host, but as a guest, talking about my new Kickstarter project. If you have not checked it out, it is Morgana Le Fay #1 for Ethereal Comics. It is a book that is going to be telling the Arthurian legend, but from the point of Morgana Le Fay. And Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table may not come out looking as heroic as we're used to seeing them. It's a story that I've been wanting to tell for a very long time, and Dustin and the folks over at Ethereal gave me a chance to do that, and along with working with an artist friend of mine named Renzo Rodriguez, who I've been wanting to work with for probably a decade now. So Renzo and I are doing this book. We've got some amazing covers. You can check all that out on Kickstarter. And all right, so check it out if you can. We're doing pretty well with it, but we still got some good stretch goals coming up. So jump in. It's already funded, so jump in and help us reach those amazing stretch goals. All right, we're going to move on back to our fourth element of the film noir, and that is the femme fatale, sometimes a homme fatale. And that's basically just, it's a character that brings sex into the equation. And they're there to tempt the protagonist to go down the wrong path. Drop a Kickstarter link. That would be good. We could definitely drop a Kickstarter link. I can do that, but what I have to do is I have to take it from here and take it over here and put it in the private for Kyle to add, because I can't actually type in chat. All right, so femme fatale. And we definitely have a femme fatale in this. Now, the femme fatale usually comes across as vulnerable at first, but are later revealed to be manipulative and quite capable. Here we see Selena Kyle, played by Zoe Kravitz, who we met as a simple waitress before learning she's a talented cat burglar and good in a fight. Now, she doesn't come in as a criminal in Batman's way, but she is a possible suspect in the murder of the mayor. And that's the thing I like about this movie, is that every character introduced helps move the story along here. There are no introductions just, to further along the film or to set up another film or a franchise. We get introduced to the Penguin, played by Colin Farrell, and at one point he is a suspect. The Riddler is the bad guy. Catwoman is a suspect and is part of the main story. So yes, we do get introduced to the Joker, but he's more of a cameo and he's more of a tease, but he's not introduced so that we see him. He's more of just a voice. And I mean, they even cut one of the scenes he was in. So that makes a lot of sense. That keeps it to that self-contained noir thing. All right, the fifth element here is not Milla Jovovich. As much as I love Milla Jovovich, she's not the fifth element of a film noir. This is simply that a lot of it takes place at night. Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule, as there are some good film noirs out there that take place mostly in the day, like Chinatown. Chinatown is a very well-lit film noir, but it's still filmed in a way that there are heavy shadows, there's a lot of stark lighting, stuff like that. But a lot of what makes a noir is the look, and night helps to reach that German expressionism of extreme camera angles and high contrast lighting, which cast angular shadows. That's kind of the look you're going for with a film noir. And that is definitely what he's going for here. Just think of the car chase, the angles of the car chase, cutting close on the guys behind the wheel, the car flipped upside down, Batman walking upside down with that yellowish orange background. It's not a hero shot. There are no hero shots in this. They're all shadows and yeah. There's no moment of him standing there going da da da. There's no hero shots because there are no heroes in this movie. There are a handful of scenes in this film that take place during the day, but even those are filmed with heavy shadows and stark lighting. Now, the next one is achieved early on and then abandoned. And that's okay because you just want to establish it, but you don't want to overuse it. And they do that long enough that it sets the hard-boiled feel for the film. And that's the first-person narration. Now, we don't get it with the scene from the Riddler, and that's kind of outside of it. You get the Riddler kill scene, and then you get the narration during the fight. You get a little explanation, but you don't get narration through the rest of the movie. But what you do get is the rest of the movie takes place in and around Bruce Wayne. In most films, you can jump around and you have a scene that takes place with the bad guy or a scene that takes place with the love interest alone and stuff like that. Other than the opening, the rest of this movie takes place with Bruce Wayne or Batman either in it or watching it. So it's all from his point of view. Often the kill, so that's the whole point, is it comes from the protagonist's point of view. That way you're not getting a lot of extra information. You're only getting the information that your protagonist is getting. Now, devoid of that opening scene, that's what we get. Everything we get is what we learn as Batman learns it. When we do get a couple flashback scenes, like when he's trying to race to Wayne Tower to save Alfred, and we see Alfred getting blown up, but that's likely deduced. So majority of everything is done from Bruce Wayne's point of view. All right, the next element. Now, this is basically the mystery. Now, your protagonist in a film noir doesn't have to be a cop or detective, but a noir needs to have a mystery at the heart of it. That's what's driving the story. Now, it could be a private eye looking for a missing girl, or a shoe salesman who happens to pick up the wrong package and now is being hunted by mysterious figures trying to get it back. He's not, he's just an average person. Most noir starts with a dead body, or at least a missing person, but there's always that thing that happens that gets the mystery started. Here we get the death of the mayor. Now, the story is less about the person that was killed and more about the protagonist and their journey to unravel the mystery. The first person killed is part of the clue. Here, the corruption that the Riddler is exposing is just the string that holds the pieces together. But the story is as much about Bruce piecing together his father's connection to all of this and who killed his parents. So the mystery is so convoluted here because who's the Riddler? Why is he doing it? Who's his victims? How are they all connected? How do they connect to Thomas Wayne? How is Bruce Wayne connected? See, it's just this multi-layered mystery where the real truth is who killed the Waynes is kind of at the heart of this mystery. Now, another noir rule, it isn't a hard and fast one, but that would be an urban setting. There are good noir out there that move to stories to like a rural countryside, etc. But most end up taking place in a crowded, dirty city, and they avoid the high rises in nice neighborhoods, focusing more on the seedy bars and dark alleyways. Now, Wayne Tower exists in this, but it's never where Bruce wants to be. He always feels out of place there. You know, he's never in the tower. He's in the basement where his car is. He only goes up when he absolutely has to. He's in the basement, in the underground subway. He's out on the streets. He's in the alleyways. He's in the iceberg bar, lounge. That's the whole idea. Or even, you know, in the crowded police stations and construction. Excuse me. Construction sites or the crowded freeways. The whole idea is to create a claustrophobic feeling, like the city's getting smaller and smaller around you, that there's no escape. And then it gets even worse at the end. I mean, what we see at the end of this movie is the flooding and everything else. You never get hope in this. The city, it gets worse. That what happens to the people gets worse. So, all right. Now, one of the most important elements of noir is violence. People get hit and they get hurt, both the protagonist and the antagonist. No pulled punches or mercy given. We get this from the opening murder, Batman fighting in the subway platform, to the bomb going off in his face when trying to save D.A. Coulson. There's no hiding that people are getting hurt in this film. Even the car chase is taking out a lot of innocent bystanders, and no one involved even cares about it. The violence is not only accepted, it's expected. Okay? Bruce expects to get beaten up, and Bruce even says it. He expects to get killed. You know, the fights are violent, and they're all, every hit is done to wound or to hurt. Nothing is stylistic. There's no big flowing roundhouse kicks and stuff. It's all very close, violent fighting, elbows, punches, kicks that are all in your face. The real trauma of the car chase is they did that to the Nova. When they showed his back, it was all scars and bruises. Grenade, yep. But the key is that Bruce has to get as good as he gives. He has to feel the punches too. And in this film, he does. You know, the fact that Alfred gets blown up, the fact that he gets blown up and knocked out, all of that stuff is him getting hit just as hard. Now, the final element may be the most important. And it's the worst way to phrase this, but it's also the most accurate. There are no happy endings. Noir films leave hope out and never bring it back. The film doesn't end with Gotham being saved and the citizens being safer. It ends with the streets being flooded and a huge rebuilding project ahead of them. The citizens gain nothing here, other than the guy who is scaring the hell out of the criminals might actually be trying to help. The city government has to be completely rebuilt. Any faith that people had in it is gone. Gotham is worse off at the end of the film than in the beginning. The only progress made is that the Riddler is now in Arkham, and Bruce knows who likely killed his parents, or at least who ordered them. No one's life is better because of the events of this movie. And we don't see that in other Batman films. There's always a happier ending. In superhero films, there's always a happier ending. You know, even in something as tragic as Endgame, we lose Tony Stark, we lose Natasha. But all those people come back to life. It's a heroic ending. All those lives are restored, you know. We did get that in Infinity War, but that was part one of part two. So rarely do you get this kind of ending in a superhero movie. Now, Is Batman a hero by the end of the film? Arguably, yes. There is character growth. But that doesn't mean that the next film will treat him as such. If anything, the first thing that will likely happen, or something that will happen before the film, and we'll just learn about it, will be his reputation will be shattered so that people think the worst of him at the beginning. They set up the possibility of using Hush in the film universe by introducing Tommy Elliott's father as the reporter Falcone killed to protect the Waynes. That could pay off in a sequel or be saved for a third film. But see, I can't see Reeves suddenly going to one of the more fantastical villains, as he created such a grounded world for this Batman to exist in. So a villain like Hush works, a villain like Zaz, but stuff like, Joker could exist here, Penguin, but a character like Bane, Killer Croc, Clayface, those really don't work in this world. And I hope they stay the hell away from them. And if they are going to introduce any other heroes in this world, they just introduce the grounded city heroes like Manhunter, Green Arrow, Robin, Nightwing, stuff like that, and stay away from Superman and stuff. Keep this a grounded world. Now, we're going to learn a lot about this movie over the next year because it's due out in October of 2025, and they really got to get this thing rolling. So I'm expecting to start hearing casting announcements, stuff like that, probably in the next few months, because they want to give it a full year. So by this summer, we should start definitely hearing some stuff. So, all right, let's go ahead. We got a handful of key collectibles to run through. If Kyle is... All right, we're going to take a short break, 20-second break, and when we come back, we'll do the key collectibles, okay? So we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back. By the way, Ed, thank you. Ed says, great show. Might be my favorite one you've done so far. Loved it. Thank you and have a great weekend. Thanks, Ed. We're going to go a little long with the key collectibles here, but we're allowed to go a little long on Thursdays because we don't have anything right after. So let's get through these. First up, we have the first appearance of the Riddler, Detective Comics number 140 from 1948. First appearance and origin of the Riddler. This goes for $38.3 thousand in the high end, $14.7 thousand in the median, and $6.4 thousand on the low end. Second appearance of the Riddler took place in Detective Comics number 142 2 months later, and this goes for about $3,000 on the high end, $815 in the median, low end, $275. Then we jump 15 years to the next book here. That's Batman number 171 from 1965. This is 17 years, excuse me. This is the first Silver Age appearance of the Riddler. This is also the book that was used to create, or was one of the ones looked at and used to create the Batman TV series. And that's why the Riddler is the first villain in the Batman TV series, is because this issue just hit the stands. This goes for $3.2 thousand on the high end, 1.1 on the median, and a low end of $310. All right, next up, Batman Chronicles number 3 from 1996. Now, this is the first appearance of Quiz and Query, Riddler's henchmen or henchwomen. This one, just high end's $3, median's $2, low end is $1. There's not a lot of really big Riddler books after those first three, so these are just more interesting things that happen. Next up, we have Batman The Long Halloween number 7 from 1997. This is April Fool's Day, and the Riddler is on the cover, art by Tim Sale. This on the high end goes for $12, median $3, low end $1, Rest in peace, Tim Sale. Next up, we have Batman number 619 from 2003. This is where we find out that the Riddler is behind the whole Tommy Elliott thing, or Hush thing. It's also the first appearance of Tommy Elliott in the Hush costume. High end on this is $10, median $2, low end $1. This is one of my favorite comic runs ever. Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee doing Batman Hush. Teen Titans number 38 in 2006. This was the first cameo appearance of Enigma, the Riddler's daughter. This one goes for a high end of $3, median $2, low end of $1. Then we have Batman Arkham Riddler. It's a collection of Riddler's greatest hits. High end on this is $50, median's $15, low end's $5. It was like a $20 cover price trade, but it's good to pick up to get some of the biggest Riddler stories. And do we have any more? Nope, that'll do it. All right, guys, that is the show for today. Remember to stick around for What's in the Box with Miss Jen. Then we've got the Geek Chat, where they're going to be looking at new books, including Ghost in the Machine. And we have Sketch Up tonight with some great guests, including Steve Prince and Dan Price. So also, Kyle, you want to jump on here and plug the EXP Expo 3? Not particularly.
If I could find my microphone. So first of all, Stephen Prince and Dan Price are on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
On SketchUp. They are the special guests for Sunday's SketchUp as part of the EXP Expo. But the EXP Expo is this weekend, EXP Expo 3. Full schedule announced tomorrow, first to our mailer and then to our website. And then I will probably go live tomorrow afternoon my own self and do a little update on the schedule and let everybody know what's happening when. But we do have some pretty fun names, including Matthew Rosenberg from What's the Furthest Place from Here, Greg Weisman, who created the Gargoyles, Declan Shelby, who's doing Thundercats at Dynamite, a fair amount of, I would call them names you don't know yet, but definitely should in the near future, as well as special programming from Nancy and Jen, Chuck, Mel and Mog, myself and Bronze, as well as Henri, and Dan will be joining us as a guest. So, we have a really fun weekend planned. It's going to be close to 20 hours of content over the next few days. So,
Kyle won't be sleeping this weekend.
I haven't slept since Tuesday, and I don't think I'll sleep again until Monday at this rate. At least not voluntarily.
Right. So, by the way, speaking of Greg Weisman, if you guys haven't checked out, Dynamite is doing a Kickstarter where they're collecting the original Gargoyle runs, I think from when they were at Marvel.
Yep.
These are some rare out-of-print Gargoyle stories, and they're collecting them together, and the Kickstarter has blown up. It's close to raise $300,000 for these collections. If you are a Gargoyle fan, these are well worth checking out. It's a huge, huge project going on over there. So you'll want to check that out. Remember to check out my Kickstarter for Morgana Le Fay, #1 through Ethereal Comics. And that's it, folks. I will be back on Tuesday with news, and then next week with another topic. Whatever I think of between now and then, I will be on the air Sunday to talk about Morgana, and then I think I'll be on, JD or Kyle can confirm this, I think I will be on Monday.
Yep. I believe it's you, and depending on the response of the email I just got while we were live on the air, I think it will be you and Greg Pack on Monday.
Greg Pack and I. So I'll bring in the audience for Greg so people can finally learn who he is.
Right. Well, the other option is a friend of yours or someone you used to do conventions with, a guy by the name of Tone Rodriguez, who might be the third head of the three-headed monster that is the Giants of Comics, me, Dan, and Tone. So
Tone is a great guy. Just an awesome guy. I used to travel with him. He's a good friend. I love the guy. And yeah, if he's on, you should definitely tune in for him.
that's one I can announce officially because I have that one locked in. Tone Rodriguez, Tony Fleece, and Trish Forstner will be joining us at 4 p.m. Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific Saturday, to talk about their new project, Feral.
Yeah, they're also behind Stray Dogs over at Image.
Absolutely.
Yep. So answer Ed's question real quick. I have not heard of a Batman movie universe comic series. I think that would be a brilliant idea. But because that's all Matt Reeves, I think Matt Reeves would have to kind of keep an eye on it. And he's already doing the Penguin series. He's doing the Batman movies. And he's putting together the Arkham series, which will supposedly not be in that universe. It'll be in the main DC universe for James Gunn. So go figure on that one. All right, guys, that is absolutely the end. I will see you all this weekend. Tune in for the expo. Have a great time. Good night, everybody.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.